Miranda. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. It is so great to connect with you again.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I am stoked to dive in. Welcome, everybody, to the Social Video Playbook. This is our space for the next 15 minutes where we're going to talk about all things social video, yays, nays. We just want to give you fast insights from real leaders that are actually doing amazing work in the space of owning social video for brands across B2B, B2C, B2B2C, whatever it is that people are doing nowadays. They are joining us today to help build the ultimate social video playbook. So at the end of all of this, we're going to give you all this insights and data so you can build up your brand, learn what's actually working, learn what's not working, so you can save yourself some time and hopefully improve on your bottom line across as a whole. So I'm excited. I'm Elizabeth. I'm Head of Growth at Viral Moment. I am clearly the host of the Social Video Playbook. And with me today is Miranda from CTZN. Miranda, tell us about yourself.
I am the co-founder of CTZN. CTZN is a full-service digital marketing agency. We take a social-first approach. So we help our clients come up with really compelling content strategies on organic social channels, as well as paid social and paid search channels, as well as retention strategies through email and SMS. And we primarily focus on B2C, and then taking that a step further, primarily a focus on CPG, so consumer packaged goods brands.
Awesome. You all have done some amazing work. So I'm really excited to get into some of the insights because you've worked across some really cool things recently. So let's just go ahead and dive in. What is the number one shift in your industry that you've seen that brands just haven't been ready for?
Yeah, I think this is a great question. I mean, like the obvious one is AI. I think a lot of people are talking about that, which I'm actually not going to get into because I'm a little burnt out on the topic of AI. I don't know if everyone else feels the same way, but I just wanted to address that. That is like the elephant in the room that everyone's talking about right now in the world of marketing. But I think one that is a pretty strong takeaway that I think brands can start implementing now is I'm seeing a shift in a higher volume of lo-fi shot content shot on an iPhone, but then pairing that with high quality post-production work. We're seeing a lot more intentional storytelling, a lot of strong storyboarding. There's a lot of intention in the timing, the transitions, the hooks, the music. Like it has a more elevated, packaged up feel, but everything is still shot on an iPhone. It's this really cool hybrid that I'm seeing across video content in general. I think it's making it a lot more accessible for brands to implement. I always say if you could invest in one thing, like you don't need to invest in high quality like camera and like gear or any of those sort of materials, but instead invest in learning about how to do really good post-production editing and then go back to the basics, really dive deep into strong storytelling, look at the hero's journey, look at what books have done really well from an international best-selling perspective. A lot of them follow these same character arcs where people are overcoming a challenge of some sort. They're facing something much bigger than them. I think a really good example of a brand doing this right now, which isn't a brand we've worked with, but I've just been admiring everything that they're doing, is called Bad Hombres. It's a husband and wife team. They're going off on their own journey to build their own frozen bean and cheese burrito brand, which is such a fun journey. Their content is all shot on an iPhone, but it's edited really well. It goes through all of the challenges that they've been facing as a husband and wife team. They both left their very comfortable corporate jobs to pursue their dream business in doing this. They're up against big food. It definitely feels like an underdog story. And who doesn't love an underdog story? I think that's something that's just always done really well. That's a long-tailed answer, but I think just really taking the time to be intentional about creating a strong story and not worrying too much about shooting with high quality gear.
Yeah, absolutely. How is social video changing the way that you've seen brands make decisions?
I think it's changing everything. There's so many ways to look at this. I think the biggest thing, like brands can really in real time look at what's trending and what people are talking about and use that to shape not only their brand, but like the products that they're bringing to market. I think the old school way of doing things was, at least from a more of an enterprise level, you'd be investing a lot of money into R&D, you'd be conducting focus groups, you'd be paying for all this research and all of this data to come up with your next big hit product, when really you can find all of that data across social media right now. You just really need the right tools to make that happen and the right team members to really help interpret that data. I think the power of social listening is something that's not really being leveraged enough. You can uncover so much from social video and see like trends of what people are talking about, not only relevant to your specific products, but also within your kind of adjacent communities and niches to help you shape new products that you bring to market.
Yeah, we always say that at Viral Moment too. It's social video is your biggest focus group and it's free. Like,
Yeah. Yes.
check it out. People are talking about you. They're telling you what they want, what they like, what they don't like.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then even not even just about your brand, but you get a sense of what people are talking about within your industry and like what their pain points are. Like, say you're a brand that sells products for infants and toddlers, like you can really get a strong understanding of what new moms are talking about and like what they're dealing with in postpartum. And you can use that to create some really strong, compelling products in your pipeline, or you can even use that to create some really powerful content that speaks to those pain points.
Yeah.
So I think I always recommend people have, especially any major decision makers around product development or around brand identity. I think they need to have regular meetings with whoever is on the battlefront of community management and whoever is really looking at that data across social listening. Have regular meetings with whoever that team member is, because it's only going to help you make better informed decisions to help your brand grow at a more efficient scale.
Yeah, absolutely. And across so many different ways too, which kind of leads into there's so many things that go with social video. So you touched on like an iPhone instead of a whole studio, or like being able to have the right people for the right listening or the tools. So there's a lot of things that go with social video. What do you think is like the biggest challenge across social video right now?
I think there's a lot of challenges. One of them is keeping up with the volume of content that's needed while also maintaining quality. I think that's something I'm hearing a lot of brands struggle with, especially younger brands that are trying to be a bit more disruptive, who might be a little bit more limited on resources. And then I think another big challenge is striking that balance between that like raw, authentic style of content with polished content. So that way you can still like resonate with audiences while still maintaining that credibility that you have as a brand. I think that's been another really big challenge too.
Yeah. Is there anything that you've done, or how is it that you at Citizen have been facing these challenges for your clients? What's been working? What hasn't worked?
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of testing. I always joke, like the best of the best always test, which is very cheesy, but it's true. And you can't get too married to an idea. Like you have to be willing to be flexible and be willing to change and iterate and just to continue to keep testing and overcome that perfectionism. In addition to testing, something that we do at Citizen, we're just chronically always online. We're always trying to stay as relevant as possible, seeing what's trending, what's working. We're always analyzing top performing video, pulling it apart, trying to figure out why did that work so well for this brand and how can we apply that to the brands that we're managing, that we're representing online. And I think having a healthy mix of different styles of content is key. Going back to that testing and iterating, it's important not to stay too. One thing I see a lot of brands do is once they find the strategy that works for them, they go all in on that strategy, which can work only for so long of a period of time, the content starts to feel a little monotonous. You start to get a clear sense of, oh, they found a formula and that seems to be working for them. And you get a little tired of it. When brands have more of a dynamic feel to their content that is always evolving and changing, maintains relevancy with what's happening in the online landscape, I think that's when brands really start to see some good growth. One example I'll share is one of our clients, they're called Cosmic Crisp Apple. It's a popular Apple brand in the United States. We've always have a healthy mix of different style of content. And for a while we were doing, in terms of our recipes, like the end recipe was always like very like beautifully plated. It was very what people would call like aesthetic. It did well, but we started to notice a trend in people craving a bit more simplified recipes that were a bit more accessible, using fewer ingredients, and ones that were a bit more portable that you could take with you. Now that more people are going back to the office, people are traveling more, that they're getting into summer. And we happened to notice a video trending on TikTok that was this apple pie salad recipe. Very simple. So we worked with the rest of the partners that were involved in the project and had a recipe developer help us create some content quickly for it. And the end video was not something that was very beautiful or aesthetic. It was just put in a Tupperware container. It wasn't like any of our other recipes that we had done, and it took off. Like it got over 3.3 million organic views, the most we had ever achieved for that brand. And I think it's actually still climbing. It continues to get more and more traction. Zero paid backing. It was one of the most simple things that we had produced for that brand, and it just took off.
Authentic.
Yeah. So it's like, don't get too hung up on what's going to look the best at the end, or, you know, what's going to be like the most beautiful end result, when really it's like, how can you identify a problem and a need that people have, which people need something quick and easy. They need something simple. They need something that's not going to cost them a lot of money or a bunch of ingredients. They need something accessible. So it spoke to all of those pain points all in one.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to watch that.
It's good too. I've tried it. It's delicious.
So as we're talking about some of the challenges and some of the ways that we're going about utilizing social video, what do you see as a common mistake that brands make when interpreting social video? And then what do you think on top of that, what do you think they actually should be measuring? So what are they looking at wrong? And then what really is something they actually should be leaning into?
I think a lot of brands are trying to focus too much on virality. And I think they're getting a little too obsessed with hopping on to what I'll call our like flashy trends. I think at the end of the day, it's really important to really stay true to your brand, because a video can go viral and drive zero business impact. If you're always chasing virality, but losing sight of the soul and the heart of your brand, you're really creating an opportunity for people to lose trust in you. Even as simple as, I know that there's been a big discussion around trending audio, always using trending audio. You should always have the hottest trending track behind your videos. And sometimes that doesn't always work really well. Like, I actually have more respect for brands that have a little bit more intention around the content they're making, and they're choosing audio that feels a lot more in line with what their brand identity is, versus always adding in the hottest new Bad Bunny track or whatever it might be. And I think you can like measure all of this too by looking at which storylines, which formats, which hooks are actually sparking real engagement. And like, also, when looking at engagement, you don't want to look at just views. You want to look at the percentage of people that actually completed your video. You want to look at how many people are actually sharing your video or saving your video. I think those metrics are a lot more important than total views, than comments or likes. I think it's important to look at metrics that really trigger and show more emotional resonance. Was your content impactful enough for someone to watch the whole thing? And then was it even really impactful enough for someone to share it with a friend or to save it for later?
Yeah, views are fine, but if they're 50,000 views that like nobody really aren't your audience, then what are they worth? But if you can get 500 views of people that actually care and they share that with the other people that would care about your brand or product or service, then it's going to be way more valuable.
Yeah. And I think it's important too, like if brands are seeing spikes in content performance, always cross-reference that with the data you have available within your business. So if you are like an e-commerce store, for example, if you have a video that has a spike in performance, make sure you're going back and looking at your analytics to see if you actually did get a spike in traffic from that social channel that you can correlate back to that video success. Because you might even find, we had quite a few videos go viral, but we didn't see any uptick in traffic or any uptick in sales after the fact. So what can we do to adjust our strategy so that we're creating videos that are a bit more emotionally resonant, that are building more trust with our audience enough to influence them to come and ultimately buy our product, which is always our end goal.
Yeah, it's all about the bottom line at the end of the story. And speaking of bottom lines, the people that care about this the most are definitely leaders at these companies and these brands. What do you think is an underrated insight that leaders in your field should act on right now that maybe they're not quite looking at?
In terms of social video, I think I read recently that 80% of videos watched on social media are watched without any audio on, like they're all silent. People are watching them maybe like at doctor's offices while they're waiting, or they might be out in public and they don't want everyone to hear what they're watching. And so I think it's really important that as you're crafting content online, that the first like 3 to 5 seconds, if it doesn't make sense without the audio on, you need to rework it because you're likely going to lose them and they're going to quickly swipe on to the next.
That's a really great point. Do you think that there's a common assumption about social video that is just completely wrong and you're like, that's just not how this works anymore?
I think, speaking to my earlier point, that virality does not equal like brand success or brand loyalty.
Totally.
Yeah, the true ROI is always going to be in trust in your brand. And at the end of the day, social media is a trust tool. It's a tool to build that emotional resonance.
Yeah, it really is. And I think it can go really far for your business. It can also hurt your business too. There's that balance there. You're like, cool, we got, once again, 500,000 views, no sales, no services, no whatever, like kind of your angle is. Those are not the 500,000 people I want to be in front of. That's fine. Not everyone's your target market. If you were to get one thing in 2025 that would make social video just easier for your business at CTZN, what would that one thing be? So it's 2025, it already exists.
Oh, so something that already exists.
Yeah. If you were to just rub a genie in a bottle and he was like, you can have anything that's already in the world right now.
I think having a platform that could leverage the post-production process a lot more streamlined, like leveraging AI. If we could have a platform that we feed it all of our B-roll, all of the content we've shot on our phones, and then it could help us quickly come up with maybe 5 different versions, maybe with like different hooks that we could easily pump out across different channels. I think that would be incredible. I think there are tools that exist out there that do this. I've seen them start to pop up, but I haven't really taken the next step to do like a full demo with them just because I am a little skeptical. But in an ideal world, they would work seamlessly and beautifully.
Yeah, which honestly, at the rate that technology is moving just this year alone, I can imagine by December that it would be very easy, let alone like this time next year. Also, when you do figure that out, can you let me know? Because I would love that. We've got one more bonus question here. Miranda, you've done a lot of amazing work. You've built an incredible company that is like driving virality for businesses with actual bottom line results. What's a lesson that you've learned throughout your whole journey that you wish more people understood or that you want to share?
I think it's always been this same lesson that's continued to bubble back up throughout my career, is that you cannot beat a well-baked brand and that is consistent, that also maintains cultural fluency. So a brand that can also be swift in their engagement with what society is currently talking about and caring about, and then using that also to create really deep, strong storytelling. Like, really, at the end of the day, that is the winning recipe. Like, don't chase the hottest, most viral trend. At the end of the day, look at what your brand stands for, create really strong stories around that, speak to common pain points your audience might have, strike an emotional chord. Really just go back to the basics. Become a good storyteller. Read books about storytelling and you'll win. I promise.
I love that. Miranda, thank you so much for your time and for your insights. She has some amazing stuff that she drops constantly. So her LinkedIn is scrolling along the bottom line here. I'll also drop it in the show notes for anybody that wants to just listen on Spotify or, I don't know, watch without sound, whatever you want to do. But Miranda, thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it. And we'll chat soon.
Thank you.
Bye.